18, 19, and there you were working on an aircraft carrier.
17 to start with.
On an aircraft carrier at 17?
Yep.
That's incredible. That must have been an exciting period of your life.
It was. It was. I loved it.
So you worked on the ejection seats. Do you know of any stories where they actually had to use the ejection seat that you worked on? A pilot had to actually use the seat to save his life?
I spent 3 tours over there on the carrier.
Now over there, where are we talking, Vietnam?
Vietnam, yeah. And
the Gulf of Tonkin, in that area?
Yeah. And, well, all 3 tours we spent operating in the Gulf of Tonkin. Yeah. And they'd be in there for a while, and then they'd pull it out and they'd go down around the tip of Vietnam and then back up, and they'd be back in the Gulf for a while.
And what kind of aircraft were you working on?
I was working on an A4, which was a cross between a bomber and a fighter. 2 of the pilots that I knew quite well, and that ended up getting shot down and ejected and got out of them. We never had one that we lost, thank heavens. There was the 2 of them, and one was a young fella, and he'd come down where I was working in the shop. He'd come down and he'd ask questions as far as, how do you go about doing this, and when would you use the T-handle between your legs, and when would you use the face mask that would pull down over, because they got oxygen masks on, but with that much wind, it's hard to breathe, Yeah. And I found out later on that he had been shot down and held as a prisoner of war for between 5 and 6 years. And then when he traded the pilots, he came back with them, and he was one of them that was returned from being held POW over there. And another one was a lieutenant commander, which was an older fella, and he never lost his sense of humor. He loved to shoot the breeze with the enlisted people and what have you. And I think he knew everybody in the squadron by their first name. But anyway, he'd go out, get ready to go out on the flight, and if it was early morning, the cigar would be that long, and if it was later on in the day, he'd shoot it down to where it was just, But he ended up getting shot down, and
again over in Vietnam.
Yeah, in Vietnam, and he was taken prisoner by the Viet Cong and put in a holding area where they was holding all the prisoners, And I think he was held as a prisoner for like either 7 or 8 years, one of the 2 over there. That's what I was told, that he had been held by that. But when they made that wall that had all the names on it, neither one of those 2 guys' names was on that, and I don't know why. I questioned it. I questioned it after I got out, and because they traveled through the country with that wall, and then they set it up, but I never got an answer as to why they were not on that. I don't know.
I imagine you working on. How many aircrafts in the squadron that you were working? There were 12 aircraft. And I imagine you got to know each and every one of the pilots for those aircraft. Or they got to know you because they wanted to make sure that seat worked when they needed it. What was it like working on, and you worked on the deck of the aircraft carrier? What was that like? Can you give us a sense of that?
The green shirts was primarily people that were assigned to the squadron and as far as maintenance goes.
And that was you? You had a green shirt?
And I had the green shirt, and the yellow shirts was positioned the aircraft, because when the carrier or the flight deck and stuff all run off to the left side of the carrier, maintenance personnel were on the flight deck, or flight deck, some of them up there, some of them on the hangar deck down below doing maintenance work. They had blue shirts that was ordnance. They were the ones that was loading the ordnance and rockets and stuff on the aircraft up on the flight deck while they were recovering aircraft, or getting ready to launch other aircraft.
Was it pretty noisy up there?
Yeah, it was terribly, terribly noisy up there. But it's hard to believe that you can take 50 aircraft, 50, 60 aircraft, put them on the flight deck like that and have any control over them whatsoever. But everything moved clockwise and just, just a miracle to watch.